Greetings. Welcome back. My name is Derek Muhammad, formerly Derek Hopkins, and I'm originally from Estill, South Carolina, born and raised. So today I'm coming to you with episode 8, unveiling the injustice of how Black-owned land is systematically stolen in Hampton County, South Carolina, in particular, South Carolina in general, and in the United States on a whole. In this episode, we'll delve into the unsettling details of a court proceeding in Hampton County, South Carolina. These are raw recordings, part of the evidence that I possess in both audio and video formats, along with supporting documents to help prove what I'm stating in my videos. While I lack the current ability to overlay them visually, I'm hopefully that someone will see this and who might step up to help assist me to do that. All right. The peril here lies in the fact that Hampton County has a long-standing history of injustice and operates under a deeply entrenched good old boy system. From the 1965 bombing incident when my mother integrated Estill High School to the recent uncovering of the murder saga in Hampton County, this county seems to have a resistance to change. I will liken this unto the Reels brothers, who were jailed for 8 years for trespassing in their own homes, nonetheless, in a well-documented series called Silver Dollar Road. It can be found on Prime right now. Go check that out. And you can see for yourself how this is happening all over the United States. Even in 2022, my sister and I faced a similar situation where we were issued trespassing after notice by Lieutenant Deputy Sheriff Craig Smith. Now let's dive into the court proceedings. Deputy Sheriff Lieutenant Craig Smith represents the state. And interestingly enough, he summons Bud Ferry first. This is the very person implicated in orchestrating the questionable leases. After you heard him in the previous video tell every devotee of the estate of Sudie Gordon he didn't have any authority to sign any documents that were related to Gordon Logging Company. You heard it in the previous video, now hear this. Pun intended. Note that the other key figures in the saga, including Johnny Gordon and his wife, as well as Kelvin Gordon, are present but mysteriously avoid being called to the stand. What makes this even more intriguing is their discreet entrance through the back door without undergoing any of the usual security checks. Join me now as we dissect the first few minutes of Lieutenant Craig Smith questioning of Bud Ferry, revealing contradictions from our meeting in July of 2021. This hearing occurred this year in 2023 after persistent efforts from my sister and I to get a hearing on this ticket at all. So here, listen closely to the court proceedings. I'm going to skip between certain areas because there are spaces where there's no sound or shuffling of papers back and forth.
With new date for your Mr. Derry. Thank you. All right. So we have the state. What's your name, sir?
My name is Ittriss, Ittriss. My last name is Jenkins.
And you're the representation for both parties?
Yes, sir.
Both parties here being my sister Audrey Hopkins Williams and myself. And I'm not in the courtroom, by the way, so watch this. They don't even really say anything to my sister.
Please note the state is being represented by Lieutenant Smith, and Mr. Jenkins is representing Mrs. Hopkins.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's Ms. Mortons.
Ms. Williams, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Williams, so I see that you have attorney present, so that's good. You've already requested to have a trial by me. And how do you plead on this charge? And the charge you're being charged with is trespassing after notice.
Not guilty, no.
Not guilty.
All right, let's get to the next part. You heard my sister say she pleaded not guilty. Here we go.
Leading court, Your Honor, the state wished to call Mr. Graham Farley Ferry to the stand.
And everybody has been read their rights, correct?
Yes, my sorry about you.
Your rights.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ferry. Good afternoon. In reference to this incident here, state your full name for the court.
Marion C. Ferry, Jr.
Okay. And what my understanding of this case here, you was the attorney that oversees this case?
Well, not really the attorney.
Listen
This
closely.
is, in the case, I'm the special administrator of the estate of Ms. Susie Gordon, and I was appointed by the probate court who's presiding over the case, who is Judge Smith and Allen.
Okay. But you being that having that position, what do you, quickly, can you give what your duties are?
Sure. My duties are to administer the estate and try to get it closed. It was my understanding at the time that I was appointed that there was a mediation agreement that the parties had agreed to get the case settled, and some other matters to take care of. And so we've tried to do that. Tried to move towards closing the estate, but have had some resistance from one of the parties.
Gotcha. Did you send any kind of paperwork to the defendant or anybody who goes to the defendant?
You're talking about the letter to Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Yeah. The matter of who was in control of this property was brought up in two separate hearings in front of Judge Smith. And Judge Smith ruled twice that the company that owned this property was part of the estate of Ms. Susie Gordon, subject to administration by, it had been personal representative, but then it was me after he appointed me.
Okay. Well, take this on like you have to do that.
Okay, we move here to the next timestamp, and
Yes, sir.
You familiar with that letter?
I am. I wrote this letter.
Okay. Could you explain to the judge what that letter entails of?
Certainly. This was a letter that I wrote to Mr. Jenkins with a copy. This was after I'd sent him a copy of Judge Smith's second order ruling that Mr. Hopkins didn't have control of the property, indicating that exactly what the judge had found. Mr. Hopkins individually had no legal right to use the property and didn't have authority to list it or rent it to any third party on any third party websites. And I advised them that they needed to stop doing that, and he needed to remove everything, all of his personal property off the property within 15 days.
Okay.
And also to take up, he had it listed for rent on some website that I wasn't familiar with, but in any way, he was, what looked like it might even be fraud. He had it listed to rent out to people after the judge had already ruled that he didn't have that authority.
Okay. All right.
now I want you to know that Gordon Law Company, as he said, is outside of his jurisdiction. Now, here we go with some more. Listen closely.
Can you give a quick synopsis of what that entails of?
Sure. This is the first letter I wrote. The first one he showed me was the second one. This was the first letter I wrote, which sent a copy of Judge Smith's order to Mr. Hopkins' attorney, letting him know that until the estate completes administration, which cannot happen until Mr. Hopkins completes the accounting order by Judge Smith, that this property has been leased for farming and hunting to a third party. I think that was Mr. West Gerald and Mr. Doug Gerald. And Mr. Hopkins needed to remove any equipment materials off the property within 15 days.
Okay, so the 15 day would have been on March 30th, correct?
Correct. That would have been.
Okay.
Now, this letter clearly shows his collusion with Johnny Gordon, Kelvin Gordon, and Tracy Gordon. But I'm going to continue to let this go on. I want this to play out and hear this last part of this testimony.
A hunting and farm lease between the estate of Sudie Gordon and West Gerald and Doug Gerald for an 88-acre tract. It's on Thomas Hamilton Road, I believe. It's known as the Dobson Tract. And this is the lease that was signed in 2022. There was a lease before this for the year 2021 that actually Judge Smith had ordered the estate to enter. So this was the next year after that, but yes.
All right, Mr. Jerry, by him signing that, they give him full authority to say who he wants owner of the property, correct?
It gave them control of the property as a lessee, yes.
Okay, so you just say who you want owner of the property,
Right. And one last thing, you was given the power by Judge Smith, right? Yes, powered by Judge Smith. I've got the fiduciary letters from the probate court as well, and the order from Judge Smith for appointing me as special administrator.
Okay, thanks.
Now, you heard from Lieutenant Craig Smith, who represented the state as their attorney, and in fact, him's questioning Bud Ferry. Now you're gonna hear in the next video, because I'm gonna cut this one off. Next video, episode 8.5 or 8.1, we're gonna hear from my attorney questioning Bud Ferry. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back.